I found.
All right. Let's
We
begin.
got it. We got everybody now.
Let's begin. It is 9:06 a.m. on Monday, October 19th. Before we are trying to help Maureen learn Zoom. With that, we're going to do, I have one update that I just want to make sure the board, since you're here, is aware of. And then from there, our main agenda item is the discussion of the October 5th joint meeting between the planning board and the select board. So the update that I wanted to give the board is that, and actually, Brian, you might want to chime in on this, is we received notice that the select board are meeting with some of our applicants that are in hearings. In their meeting this evening, there is a conflict in this situation. It sounds, Brian, do you want to?
Yeah, because it's already changed. It's already changed since we talked last, Heather. So things are always fluid.
Yeah.
So they are not going to be meeting tonight, but just to, I guess, so we had heard that they were going to be meeting on 654 specifically for a potential LIP, a friendly 40B. And that
And that's the select board meeting.
they were going to meet on Monday this
Today,
evening
yeah.
about that. That has since now been changed to sometime on the 26th or later. It's unclear what that was. And Heather and I had obvious concerns, potentially legal concerns, about them meeting with us. With them meeting with the applicants of 654 while, during a hearing. It just seems to not just undermine the process in general, but like we just don't understand what's going on. Like I think in pre-application, I think that that's more appropriate, and we just wanted to know like, well, what's happening? And now it looks like there will be further conversations about it. I'm guessing between Lisa, myself, Heather, and Mike Betancourt, but I don't really know what's going to happen. But Heather, then it's like, well, we might need to start having a conversation about whether or not we require legal counsel, outside of the legal counsel that the town is using. We've obviously done this in the past. We've for specific reasons. So the select boards, the select board's using a land use council right now for the Washington and Swanton. I don't know if everyone knows that, but they've hired Mark Bobrowski to deal with the project, the potential project at Washington and Swanton. So the article that's on town meeting, I believe it's Article 13. So that's kind of the whole story.
So I reached out to Lisa on Friday saying I have a concern. We are in a judiciary process, and legal counsel, represents the select board, but also represents us. There's conflict here. I think we need, the planning board needs independent counsel to support us through this process. Prior to knowing this, that they had scheduled this, or that they were talking to people who are in the hearing process, I had asked Brian, and he had sent a memo an email asking for legal counsel to start taking part in our hearings, going as they get more and more informative, and we start, besides just the presentation, when you start going into other portions of the hearings. And so just so you know, I am looking into that, and we'll report back. So that's just really the update of what's going on with that. And I just want to make sure you guys knew, because that was all came in on Friday.
I want to amplify on that, because I've been through this before sitting on the planning board. When the select board begins taking initiatives relating to land use projects that the planning board also is involved with, there are potential conflicts. In this case, we have we're in the middle of a hearing, and we naturally in a hearing are trying to balance what we hear from the abutters, as well as what we think is in the interest of the town. And in that process, we're trying to negotiate the best outcome. When you do enter into the hearing process, and you've got coming in from left field a proposal with your same proponent from the select board to take a whole different approach, that really does make it harder for our board to do our job as we're trying to basically do the best, get the best outcome possible. So their objective, and it may not be the entire select board, but the initiative's been taken by the select board to work with the proponent in a very different direction, really can be in conflict with what we're trying to do. The law, the state law, even federal law, certainly contemplates that the planning boards may need different counsel, and that our objectives need different counsel if they're different from the select boards. So this has come up in the past, and here we are again. So I think the time has come for us to have our own representation. Oh, and maybe one last clarification. Under state law in Massachusetts, when there's a select board that the executive in the town, it's the select board that hires directly the council. So the legal counsel right now, Anderson and Krieger, works for the select board, not the town manager, not the town collectively, but is hired by, and could be, fired by the contract, everything. The arrangement is with the select board. It's not with us. I think that's enough, unless Brian has more to say.
I think we're good. Brian, are you good?
Yeah, I mean, so the only thing now is that I guess am I instructed to look for land use council?
Yep, and I started that process on Friday, Brian, and I will talk to you outside the meeting. And the plan is to, I think, is to get some proposals and bring it back to the board at some point to review.
Okay, there could be some money issues. I'll start doing a little digging there.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
and Lisa's aware and recognizes what needs to be done. So we can also talk to Lisa about that as well.
Yeah, but we're not gonna, I don't think. Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to, we're 4 minutes behind schedule. It's not too bad for the planning board. Let's move on to the joint meeting discussion between from October 5th. And so a couple members of the board asked me to add this to our agenda. I wasn't able to add it to last week's agenda. As you know, it was one of our most intense and long meetings. But we also didn't want to wait till November to meet to talk about this. And as none of us have spoken as a board about this, I think it's really important that we do reconvene as a planning board and have a conversation about what happened and as a group and what was going on, that the planning board wasn't brought into the conversation on, obviously for open meeting issues. Regarding, like, we can't have a conversation outside of a meeting. So here we are in our meeting, we can have this conversation now and go from there. I am having the same problem as Maureen because, oh, here we go. Okay, so what I thought I would do is I'd give you what I have from what happened and how things ended up the way that they did. And then thereafter the meeting, there were some conversations that were had that led to Mary Ellen proceeding. And so from that, I'm just gonna, as you know, and Diab was CC'd on the emails. The history is that Mike reached out and sent an email to Brian. I believe Lisa was on it. Diab, Susan and Verdicchio, vice chair of the select board, and myself, asking for us to use ranked choice voting as the method, and then also questions. The questions I felt at that time did not relate to the planning board in any way. They were just really, why do you want to volunteer for the town? And so he only had 2 questions. I asked that one at least include some language regarding what's going on with the planning board. So at least we know if they even are following us in any way or have any idea of what we're up to. And then Brian followed up requesting a change as well regarding conflict of interest, a question being added. And we went to our meeting. Deb and I both said okay to that, and in email. From there, you guys were all part of the meeting. Brian can probably fill you in if you haven't spoken to him, what happened between how the app was chosen for the voting process. I do not know actually how that went through, but I do know that the rank choice was by the chair of the select board. His intention, from my understanding, was to do it so because he didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And from there, Brian used the app. He sent us the app late in the day on Monday. It didn't work for most of us because the chair of the select board went in and used the app prior to the meeting. So a new one, as you guys know, because you were in the meeting, was then sent to the planning board members and the select board members inside that meeting to the link to be used. I had not spoken to any of one. I know Dia was on the email, but I hadn't asked Maureen or Heather if you were, if this is, that this process you were okay with. So in the meeting, I specifically said, and I went back and I watched the meeting to make sure that I don't misrepresent what I said. So what I said, these are my exact words, is from there, we will go into a ranked choice and Brian will be collecting our choice. And from there, we will go with the person who gets the majority of points. Is everyone comfortable with that, as I've not discussed that with you? And then I looked at all three of you, all of you nodded your heads because I could see you in the video. And then in response, the chair of the select board said, and if anything gets screwed up with the ranked choice process, it will be Brian's fault clearly. And I think that we can all agree on that in advance. And also Brian and I talked about this too. I was saying it jokingly, but if there's some process, our vote will be, our motion at the end of the proof, at the end to approve that person will be contingent on certifying the ranked choice process was accurate in case something does go wrong. But because we first started doing it and it seemed like it involved a lot of math. And I think this way, using this feature that Brian circulated will be helpful. From there, we did the interviews and at the end, there was problems with the voting from my perspective because we had all voted, Jackie hadn't voted. I got results that were different because Jackie's vote hadn't been come in, then Jackie's vote came in. And then her vote came in. And then there are different screens open on my part. I couldn't see the actual Zoom link. I had something similar happen, what Maureen had happen at the beginning of this meeting when Brian turned off his camera. It didn't happen to me just now, but it happened to me there because I was also inside the app trying to do the vote and look at it and stuff because we had to redo it because Jackie hadn't voted yet. So I was fumbling with that, but I went and I listened and Jackie's vote came in and Brian shared the screen. He didn't share the actually tally of the vote. That wasn't sent to us till after the meeting. But Jackie did say, which I find, this is where I find it really interesting, is that she says, I'm so sorry, what is it? Oh, there are 9 people there. And did I miss, I'm just misunderstanding. I apologize. It is 3 and 3, 3, 3 and 3. And Heather, you said it takes the next number. It has points for the second. And then we go on. Deb, you make some great jokes, by the way. I really appreciate them. But Mike then said he moved to appoint Cheryl subject to confirmation of the process from the town planner. And then at the very end, Mike did not actually change Mariano, so moved it with Susan Verdicchio seconding it. And at the very end, Mike said, so Cheryl is appointed subject to Brian confirming that there's not any funny business, and we'll reach out to her. After the meeting, so you guys were all part of that, but that's just a general summary. After that, I did speak to Brian immediately following the meeting and discuss the process of how Cheryl's going to be notified. He did not know. And then thereafter, we hung up. He sent the document with the tallies to us at 7:51 p.m. I just looked at the email this morning for time. He called me at 7:57 p.m. right after that. He pretty much, and Brian, you know, but the first thing he said is, there was random elimination embedded in the algorithm. From there, I gotta say, Brian, to make that call was not easy on your part. And I have said to Lisa and that I really, truly commend you for making that call and picking it up. For going back and looking at it from my perspective, it wasn't right for us to put that on you. It wasn't right for us to any of it. And so I just really want to commend you that you picked up the phone and you called me. And so the next thing we did is I notified Lisa because I knew she was still in the meeting with the select board via text because I knew she could get it that way. And Brian sent an email to, I believe, to Mike and Lisa. And we waited for Mike and Lisa to respond. From there, Mike responded, who is the chair of the select board, that he does not see it as a legal issue. We chose this process before we knew the other candidate had withdrawn, and this is the standard. I think we ended up with one of the top two choices. That is the goal. I would have anticipated that it would have gone back and all 9 members would have reconvened and decided as a 9-person entity if that the condition that we placed on our votes, what that meant, and if it needs to come back or not. I personally, there was a lot of, I spoke to Mina as a request by Mina asking me to come to the conversation. I did not reach out to legal. And in that conversation, Mina asked if we would be willing to reconvene. And I said, absolutely. The chair of the select board said he will not reconvene the meeting. And Mina informed me that I have no ability to reconvene the joint meeting to have all 9 members discuss this. And that from his perspective, there's no legal issue. And that's that. So there, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What was the reason that Mike didn't want us to reconvene?
He said it was a political issue.
Well, the only thing,
didn't want, everyone had shown their cards.
that was it. Yeah, that would, sorry. Yeah. It wasn't just that it was a political issue. It was that he was saying that now that everyone shows their cards, that they can potentially change their votes.
Brian. I mean, that's where his exact words to. But that's that. I mean, you'd have to speak to him, but that's what he said. He also he said that he knew that there was ranked choice voting, and he was fine with that. He had played with the application prior.
I'm sorry, Heather, you correct. You said ranked choice voting. You said I understood. You meant random elimination. And that's a really
well. He knew that there's random elimination in the ranked choice voting. He knew it.
Just make sure everybody understands. None of us. I did not, and I think we all ought to verify. Not a single one of us on the planning board knew that random elimination was a possibility in this program.
Maureen, last thing. Not only did the four of the planning board members told me, obviously, that no one knew that in this specific ranked choice voting or any other for that matter, but in this one that there was random. That I was number 5, Jackie was number 6, and Susan Verdicchio was number 7. So both Jackie and Susan relayed to me that they did not know that's how this was working.
Lisa did not either.
But Lisa's
So-
not a voting member either. I mean, neither am
No,
I.
you're
But
not
I mean,
either.
I should obviously
Staff
know.
didn't know. Staff
But
didn't know either.
We have a guaranteed 6. So that's 4 planning board members and 2 select board members that said they didn't know what was going on.
Can I
just
make
to
a,
sure it's clear, because somebody will be taking the minutes for this meeting, that in the joint meeting, that there was a process with an app. The chairman, Mike Betancourt, knew that this app included a possibility that if there were a 3-way tie, that the computer app would randomly eliminate one of the candidates, even though it was a 3-way tie. I've been in multiple meetings where we have had an opening, and I've even seen ties, but we sit together and we discuss further who the candidates are. We make the point about different points about different candidates, and ultimately we work it through as human beings. We do not cede our role in this joint meeting to choose somebody on our board through, we do not cede it to a computer app. To me, that's just mind-boggling. And then the fact that the chair of this joint meeting knew that this was a possibility, to me, just defies everything I can imagine.
Well, and I don't like that we weren't allowed to meet about it, because I felt like I couldn't respond to the emails, and I didn't know that in the background, legal and the select board was making an executive decision, and that someone was being sworn in without any of us having the chance to discuss it. Like, it happened fast behind our backs.
yeah, could, just to keep order in this meeting, because I've got a whole bunch of stuff I'd like to say, could we cycle through people? Just so we're,
Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna wrap up, just because I want to apologize to my members of my board, to you guys, because I feel that I failed in some ways as your chair. When I said points, I was very clear in using the word points, not votes. Every column has a value to it, and all those have, in ranked choice voting, has value. And I didn't do my part as a chair in this situation, and I just feel really bad that there's nothing I have nothing I can do. And I think all of your votes matter, and whether it's who you rank first, second, or third in your choices, they all have value to them. And I feel really bad. I know Brian also does as well. And the situation is not one that I could have foreseen, but at the same time, I just really feel that I didn't do my part. So I'm really sorry on that. And I take full responsibility for that. So we'll go in a circle, and who would like to speak next?
we could do it alphabetically. We started doing that.
Go ahead. Well, then the chair should have gone last. So go ahead.
I guess it's Heather Hannon.
Well, I already said what my main beef was, which is that I just wanted to discuss as a group, and felt like I thought that would happen at a meeting, and then it didn't. And then I was reading the emails and seeing that someone got sworn in and we didn't have the chance to talk. So I'm not blaming, Heather, you or Brian. I think the whole thing happened really fast when we were voting in real time. And even when I saw the random elimination, it was happening so fast that I was like, maybe that just like kicked out the person with the least votes and then moved on to the people with the highest vote. Like, I didn't understand. And I feel like it just happened so fast. And to Mina's point, I wish the whole thing could have been slowed down. That's it.
Okay, I'll go next. And first, I want to point out that, again, I don't want to issue any blame here. I think one of the problems was that Mike asked Brian to come up with something on very short notice. And I think that was very unfair to Brian. And I'm not placing any blame on the planning department and Brian or Heather. I don't blame you. I blame myself, actually, because I've actually written a ranked choice algorithm in the past, and I discovered that it doesn't work well when you have a small number of voters and a small number of candidates. And for some reason, my memory failed me, and I should have said something on Monday. One of the important things is that when you looked at the app, and I was looking at the votes on Monday night as they came in, and I first noticed that Mike Betancourt's votes were incorrect, and I sent him a private chat via Zoom saying, hey, it looks like you voted and there's something wrong. And that's when he declared publicly that that's when Brian had to start up a new voting tally. The other thing is that when you looked at that results, it didn't show you how the tie was broken unless you scrolled up. So I saw the results and I didn't realize there was a random elimination because in a sense it was below the fold. So when I did not read the email on Monday night that Brian sent out. I read it Tuesday morning, and that's when I discovered there was random choice. And around 11 o'clock on Tuesday, I sent an email to Lisa, Brian, Mike Betancourt, and Heather. And I essentially said that I just discovered there was random removal. I said it's not acceptable and the votes are illegitimate. And in the email, I said the boards were not fully aware of the algorithm used and the consequences of a tie. The algorithm itself is faulty. It should have considered the second level choices as extra information to break the top level tie. Breaking a tie without looking at all the information available is just wrong. I said, and I don't understand Mike's contention that people would change their votes. We have already voted. We don't need to recast the votes. We just need to use an algorithm which uses all of the information. And until this is done, I will repudiate the results of the voting, not the actual voting itself. I did not get any response from that. I did ask that my concerns be passed along to legal counsel. Later, when I discovered that counsel, they had gone on and sworn in Cheryl, I took actually, before then, I went and I looked at the actual software, and as part of my job is I do an awful lot of software development. So I looked at the software and I noticed that it doesn't really meet standards. In particular, it doesn't actually document anything about the algorithms it uses. There are no tests to verify that the code is doing anything. So you don't know whether the code is doing anything correctly. You don't know what the code is doing. And I looked at some of the issues that people had brought up with the software. And as a matter of fact, the original version of the software did not use random selection. It was added in later at the request of someone else. And again, I've been writing software for 30 years. You have to have tests. You have to have a description of what algorithms you're actually trying to implement. And you need, in the case of voting, you need a third-party validation that what you're doing is actually correct. And so this software doesn't meet any of these any of those things. So I'll shorten this down to saying, in the email I said, we have no idea how the votes were generated on Monday night. There is no verifiable deterministic connection between the votes cast and the results tallied. We need a more thorough legal review of this situation. I'm concerned enough about this. I'm considering whether this should be referred to the state for review. And I say, on the other hand, we have the actual votes. We can manually apply an appropriate ranked choice algorithm, and several people can independently verify the results. I sent this to Brian, Mike Betancourt, Heather, Lisa, and Art Krieger. Art Krieger bounced because he was out that week. I finally didn't get a response, so I sent email out to Mina saying, hey, I just heard that The swearing in had gone ahead. I have all of these outstanding concerns and no one has responded to me. Mina replied that he'd been in meetings all day, and in any case, so we had three really strong candidates. I think all of the voting was so close, indicating that all of the boards believed we had strong candidates. I have nothing against any of the candidates. My concern is that we did not have a transparent, legitimate voting system. And I really am still concerned that anyone could come up and say, hey, this was an illegitimate vote. We are going to find problems with any votes taken by the board. And so that's where I'm at, and I'm done. Thank you.
Maureen?
Yeah, I'm losing it. I think I'm running through the alphabet. Von Meering comes last, and then okay. So it's interesting to hear, Diab, how your response went. Maybe though to back, but first of all, most of all, I don't blame Heather Von Meering. I don't blame Brian. Absolutely not. What happened was in the afternoon, Monday afternoon, prior to the meeting, you get this email from Brian sent it out, saying, here's how we're going to do, we're using this app. I emailed Brian, I still have the email, so that's on record, saying I was concerned about it, especially because I was going to have to toggle between Zoom and the app. And as you guys are all hearing, I'm actually doing fine again today. Most of the time I do fine, but the toggling does definitely concern me. So I wrote, and Brian said it should be fine. I don't know, it was some short answer, but I was already concerned. So then I'm in the meeting and I've got my laptop going and my iPad as a backup so I can make sure I don't lose it. And then lo and behold, I learned that the chair has already been messing around. And so the link was invalidated. Then Brian, I asked for somebody to send a new link. This was during the meeting all the way, you know, it was almost the hour into it. And then Brian sent, what do you call that, Brian? It's the address basically. But it wasn't the link. So I'm trying to mess around, getting that thing copied and pasted to go back into the app. And I was having a dickens of a time. But anyway, by that point, I totally lost the Zoom screen, but I had the audio. So if anybody says, oh, you could see it on your screen, I couldn't see it on my screen, but I'm now hearing it didn't matter because anybody else wasn't seeing the results on the screen because, first of all, it was there was a relay, a lapse between what ultimately got recorded by the our cable people and what we were seeing on our screens. So there was that. But so afterwards, all I knew was we had a 3-3-3. I do remember Jackie Welch saying, what happens now? And then it goes to the next vote. But in fact, that's what I would have assumed. And so the app announced the winner. And that was the end. The next day, morning, then I find out, lo and behold, it wasn't actually, the vote wasn't happening the way I thought it would. And that after the 3-3-3 vote, in fact, the next round, second choices for everybody would have resulted in Sally Dale winning because she got more votes on the second round as or second, whatever, ranking at second choice. So in the end, it just all seemed bollocksed up, but random elimination was something I hadn't anticipated. So I did something a little different from the rest of you. I went back to Mass General Law and I looked at what happens when there's an opening on the planning board. And it describes how there'll be this joint meeting with the select board and the elected board. If it's for, by the way, for an elected board, it's very specific. And I went back in and it describes this, how the new member will be chosen within this joint meeting. It doesn't assume that a random elimination will take place, that a computer app will make the selection. So I feel as if the law has not been followed in that this unbeknownst to us, by using this app, the real people ceded their ability to choose the open, the member for the open seat, that we ceded that to a computer app. Well, I didn't actively cede that, nor did anybody else. Except then later, and this is like a week into it, I learned the chair of the select board who chaired the meeting knew that there could be random elimination. So that's even more concerning. So we've got two issues really. One is that the members, the real live human beings, ultimately, if you looked at all the votes, would have chosen Sally Dale. And so it was only through a computer app that this happened. And then my second real just what's really upsetting is to know that the chair knew that this was a possibility. And one would question, did the chair know how the outcome of the voting took place and chose to push through for the final vote without everybody else understanding what was going on. Also, I'm concerned about the way council, of course, as I said earlier on another matter, the council works for the select board and specifically under the chair of the select board. So there's another question that I think about how we're now advised that we can't call a joint meeting. And so here we are in this situation, but we certainly can declare what transpired and our concerns about how this process is unfolding. And as a final comment, I just have been so concerned about a national election, a general sense of values that I have, or a broader value that I have of every vote counting. And this isn't what's happened in our board. And that's my biggest outrage. So that's it from me. Outrage. Thank you. And again, like Deb said, it's not about the people. It's about the votes must count. That's it.
Heather, do you mind if I speak for a minute?
Go ahead, Brian.
So thank you for, I guess, your standing beside or with me, I guess, throughout all this. But, you know, I was asked to do a job. It didn't work out, but we're all responding to that. And I appreciate, again, your standing with me. Now on to some more boring things related to this. So we need to respond to an open meeting law complaint filed on October 8th, and basically need to determine if we want town council to be authorized to submit a response or whether we're going to do it ourselves. Diab, I'm going to mute you for a second, I think. Yeah, sorry, Diab, had to mute you. There was a lot of feedback. So so this is obviously related to that meeting, but the thing is there's some filing deadlines and we basically need to determine whether or not we want to have Mina handle this or whether we're certainly not going to have any time to like hire anybody to it's basically either us or all we're doing here is giving all of our information to legal and having them respond. So that's something we need to decide like now, like today, like right here.
So going through that issue, prior to anything being filed, I had, due to everything going on and actually how I have the language that was used in the meeting, I went back and watched the whole meeting. And when I did, I picked up concerns on my part regarding open meeting issues. And I reached out to Mary Ellen, noting that I had concerns and asked her for direction on how to proceed to address it. And she didn't respond. She never responded. And I came to find out that everything's been turned over to Mina. So I forwarded my email that I sent to Mary Ellen to Mina. And he did not provide me any guidance how to rectify my concerns or anything. But then Brian sent me a forward of emails saying that Mina would like to, it's not recommend or anything, that just that Mina needs to be directed to respond to the open meeting complaint filing. It sounds like it's more defend versus address. And that's where my concern is because, I mean, I think the members of the planning board know me and know me well enough that if there's a problem and it needs to be addressed, I take it on and I will deal with it and I will do what's right to fix it. And if there is in fact issues, I want to take it on and address it and fix it. So if that means, however, but in the past, what has happened is we go to Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen tells us the procedures we need to take to correct it if they are in fact valid, and then we go and do it. This doesn't feel like that to me right
Well-
now, and so that's where I'm struggling as a board. If we choose to vote with majority, giving Mina authority to respond.
So just so we're clear, the only reason Mary Ellen can't do this is because her office is flat out for the next ever related to voting and town meeting. So usually Mary Ellen gave this to legal because she doesn't have the time. But the thing is, no matter what, we still, like you said, we still need to respond to this open meeting law complaint, like legally. We have to respond to it. So what I've done is I've gotten all of mine, Heather's, and Diab's emails.
That's the
Maureen-
FOIA.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, no, it's all the same though. It's the same information.
But
No, the open meeting law is different than the FOIA.
It's-
The Freedom
it's-
of Information Act is turning over all of our communication we have, which
Yes, but we still need to turn over all information for both of those.
okay.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. So right now I only have Heather von Mering's and Diab's. I do not have any communication. It was based on an email last week from either. And if you didn't have any, that's fine. But Maureen, I
Hey,
do know
Brian,
that.
it's Maureen. I sent you a few emails.
Okay.
Maureen, are you saying that when you sent emails, you always CC'd Brian on them, or that you sent him ones that he needed to include? Can you clarify
Ones
that?
that you needed to add,
Okay.
but
Okay.
certainly most things Brian gets CC'd on anyway.
Right.
can someone please list what the open meeting law concerns were for the record? Because
I can pull up.
John Stevens is here. If you want to ask him.
no, he filed a FOIA.
Oh, he did the FOIA. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Sally Dale who's also here.
Right, but I think the board should describe what it received rather than,
If you give me a minute, I will pull up and
Yeah.
list it for you. I think it'd be better than opening it up to anyone.
That's- I
Just going
agree.
with the information we have. And go from
Well,
there.
So I kind of either way, we still need to decide whether we're just going to do this, me and the planning board, or are we just essentially, like I said, giving information over and letting legal do the actual legal response?
So it's
Legal
Maureen.
has,
I
legal
have a
has been
question.
doing the FOIA. It's actually the open meeting that we need to decide on.
So to my mind, again, I don't blame anybody. I feel like that in terms of the meeting that was the joint meeting, that it was the determination of the chair. I don't feel I was in a position to, I guess, I don't know if legally, if I'm guilty, I'm guilty, but I feel as if it was wrong to send the candidates out of the meeting completely. I think they should have been muted and that's it. So that's my personal view. But I don't see that there was any place or any way to, as I said before, I was having trouble enough with this remote meeting. So I wasn't in a position to say, hey, why are you sending them in and out of the meeting?
Well,
I thought that was weird. When I interviewed, we weren't sent out of the room. We were sitting there waiting.
Right. Always has been that way. That's how appointments are made. There's nothing, this is not executive session. In fact, executive session was proposed by the chairman of that meeting. And I raised that question. And Brian, you remember that. You're my witness on that one. And we determined, our Krieger responded and said, can't be executive session.
Correct. Wait, super quick. So Heather, I just want to make sure that this is clear. So Mina had sent me an email specific about this open meeting law complaint, and that we definitely need to either delegate the legal counsel to respond to this complaint, or we need to respond ourselves. So this is not the FOIA. This is talking about the open.
I think we should respond ourselves, because otherwise.
Okay, because that's an important distinction that
Yeah.
I need. And then the other thing is if there's any communication between between planning board members. So I know, like you said, Maureen, you sent some emails to me
With
and the
Sally
chair
Dale.
and then to legal, but if there's anything else the between, you need to send that, everybody, you need to send that to me as soon as possible.
I sent those to you almost last week, sir.
Yeah, it was probably, I just wanted to make sure that, like, again, we have everything, that's all.
I think
Okay.
I only sent one email to you, Brian, and it wasn't about open meeting, it was about the counting.
Well, no, if it's related to that meeting, that's what the open meeting law complaint is about. So any emails that are related to that October 5th meeting. So that would be one of them.
Okay, your email said that you had everything that was sent to you already. So do you want me to, but then now you said you don't have any.
No, sorry. Sorry. If I was copied, I have it. I wanted to make
Okay.
sure if there's anything that you sent between
No,
members or to legal without me. So, but
No.
And I did send you some emails.
right, got that. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm
So-
sorry that took so long. Got it. Thank you.
This is the description of the alleged violation. This is different than what I was concerned with that I sent to Mary Ellen, but this is what the filing is. I attended a portion of the October 5th, 2020, 6 p.m. joint meeting of the Winchester, Massachusetts Select Board and Planning Board, convened to interview 3 candidates for appointment to an interim position on the planning board. As one of the 3 candidates interviewed, I was admitted into the Zoom meeting approximately 6.5 minutes into the meeting, was asked to leave the meeting approximately 17 minutes into the meeting when my interview was concluded. The select board chair was leading the meeting. It was he who let me in and asked me to leave. I reviewed on October 6, 2020, the Winchester Community Access and Media, WinCam, video recording of this meeting. I learned from that viewing that if I had been permitted to remain in the meeting, I would have been able to object to the voting procedures at the end of the meeting. I believe because of those proceedings that I have been unjustly denied appointment to this interim position on the planning board. I believe that my being asked to leave the meeting after my interview, which I present to you on this form as a violation of the open meeting law, resulted in me being unjustly not appointed to the position. At this time, I have no substantial reason to believe the violation was intentional. And then to rectify it, so this is where we have some issues, but what action do you want the public body to take in response to your complaint? One is I want the select board and planning board to reconvene and reconsider the ranked choice voting results of the October 5th joint meeting, in which I won the majority of first and second choice votes, but which results on page 3 of the result document show my name as being randomly eliminated without the knowledge of the meeting attendees at the time of meeting. 2, I would like the town of Winchester to officially adopt a measure that prohibits random elimination of candidates when public votes are conducted using any ranked choice voting software. So we as a board cannot do 1 or 2. We have tried to reconvene. The chair of the select board will not reconvene. So it's not directed, it is directed to a specific person and not to the board. Didn't Mina say in that email that we don't have to because it's not directed to us?
The way Mina described it in his email was that we are named in the complaint as well and therefore
Okay.
need to respond.
Okay.
So I think we can respond to the first point in the sense that we could say that this board feels that the remedy requested in point number 1 is appropriate. That's all we can say. And number 2, that is something beyond, I don't know, that's a townwide thing. I mean, we could certainly as a board say that we will not use random elimination, but number 2 seems to be town hall wide.
It is town hall wide, but we could
we could say we support it.
we can
Yeah,
say we
yes,
support
yes.
it. We can take a vote and
Yeah.
and that will be our policy and we'll put into our policies.
No, I agree. I just, there's a specific thing that we can do. We just can't address the whole thing.
So maybe Deb, would you be, as the vice chair, would you be able to take this on going forward? And
Sure. I would
think also I don't think it helps right now with which is really unfortunate, is I feel that I can't do what I think is right and the ethical thing to do, because every time I take it, it comes back to my votes. I have said that all 3 candidates were qualified and all 3 belong and would do an excellent job on our board. But at the end of the day, it's what is the right thing to do. And all voices, all 9 voting members have voices. They matter. And that is where I fall on it. But I keep getting it kicked back in my face. Well, look at how you voted. So I need to be removed out of this equation completely. And I would like you to take it on.
Sure, works for me.
Forward. Okay.
Because my votes are public, and the person I voted for ended up being the 3rd choice. So I have no problems taking that on. I just would need a vote from the board directing me as to how we should reply to the 2. Do we just need to reply to the remedies? Do we say, yes, we agree there was a problem and we agree with the remedies as far as we can implement them? Or do we need, I mean, that's the 3 things that we have to vote. Yes, we believe there's a problem. Yes, we agree with remedy 1, and yes, we agree with remedy 2.
Yes.
Yes, and that we can't do remedy 2, but as a board, we will add it into our policies and procedures of our board.
Right.
We can add it into all of our, what document would that go in, Brian? Or do we need to create one?
I think we need to create one.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
And I'm really, what really concerns me about this is it casts a pall on this concept of ranked choice,
Yeah.
which I think, and I really believe ranked choice is a better way of doing things. But I think this is so unfortunate that, but in any case, so give me a vote and I will act on it.
Just super quick, it would not be a new document. It would be in for our hearings or any of those documents that already exist for the rules and regulations associated with hearings for special permits and all these other things. It would be there in terms of how we vote, because we talk about the multiple different ways we can vote in terms of, you know, favorable, unfavorable, with conditions, without conditions. That's where we would put the voting.
Okay, I was thinking this would only apply to applicants. So the question to the board then is, do we want to have a uniform voting system on proposals before the board and applicants, or do we want them separate? Because
I mean, the only reason I'm saying is because we can't force that's kind of the problem we're in right now. We can't force the select board to, like, I don't know what rules and regulations in terms of the only type of things that we have for appointments related to for the planning board is the select board. What you're talking about, other appointments like design review and other just normal appointments.
I don't know. I'm just
Okay.
realizing that it does seem that when we vote on proposals before the board, as you know, when there are special permits or those things, that we could consider those are voting on motion.
Yeah, there's no ranking. There's no ranking
There's
there.
no ranking. So that
But-
what we do vote on where there's multiple candidates would be like people we hire, you know, things like that. So it seems like there's a separate category of voting.
Well, yeah, I think for now, we're supposed to.
Just a
respond
statement.
to a
Yeah, I
file.
think we put out a statement instead for the
But,
moment.
well, I'm going to say, Mina observed that, and so did the developer of this computer app, but I mean, I think it's widely accepted for when there are fewer people or ideas or whatever you're contemplating, Deb, and smaller scale with a small group such as we are, it's really the small size of our group, as well as various options, but that we have the ability to talk through or work through what we were trying to do. And Lord knows that's worked for centuries. I really think that ceding any of this to a computer app is a mistake. I think usually dialogue is the best way to get to your vote.
Oh, I agree. And we don't even need an app technically. I mean, it's just a simple sort of, we have a decision tree based on how many votes are cast. So,
The reason you have these decision trees, and I will be voting soon, and I will be voting for ranked choice voting, but when you're looking at the seat vacated by young Mr. Kennedy, and you're looking at thousands of votes being cast, then the idea of reconvening is and having a second round of voting, meaning in other words a runoff, is a very expensive process, and that was in a it was in a primary for the Democratic Party. It's expensive. It's not going to happen. So that's a good solution for large when you've got a large number of voters. But we've got a very small number of voters at our table, and I think the whole concept of still talking through and working through any decision is the most desirable and beneficial.
Yeah, I agree.
So we made it through our master plan our master plan steering committee, which was a large group of people without using ranked choice. Does the planning board even need to use ranked choice for any of our work?
No.
So
Yeah, I would say we probably, I mean,
I understand the chair of the select board's concern to hurt people's feelings. But I think what just happened hurts everyone's feelings. So like
it was more than hurt feelings. It was illegitimate. There's a basic premise.
I think at this point we can talk about it in more depth, but that we can, as a board, we can take a position that we will as a board, we will not use any way to measure our votes using using any form that has random elimination of a candidate.
Yeah, I think we can just settle on
keep it at that for that, and we can go back as a board and really decide how, if we want to ever use ranked choice or not, and if we want to include that in that. But
yeah, because if we ever wanted to use it, we could write up the rules in advance and have, you know, an Excel spreadsheet ready or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, at the very least, it can be done with real just tallies.
Points.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not complicated math. DM's good, but I could do this one myself.
No, it's just unfortunate we couldn't do it in the 3 minutes.
Well, it was. I didn't even have it. I didn't have the
for math.
You know, it's
for my vote.
It would have been. You know, I don't have anything against web apps if we know what's going on with them, but certainly, as Maureen pointed out, the user experience was not this. You know, we can't do it remotely when we have people who fall in and out of Zoom meetings, and it's just, yeah. So I think if the board would vote, I can go forward with responding to the open meeting law. I will work with Brian and draft something. Brian, what is our deadline?
I believe we have 14 days from, so it was filed, I believe, last week. So we have about a week. So it's really over the next 3 days, if possible. If not,
sure. I mean, is there time to bring this document back to the board, or should we?
No, that's exactly why this vote is.
Okay. So the board will.
In my mind, the big question is whether to say that we really didn't, as members sitting in that meeting, didn't have an opportunity to even question. Because I did in my mind. I thought, what's going on here? Because I'd already personally, Maureen, had already raised the idea that, had already said, this can't be executive session. And that went to Anderson and Krieger. And Art wrote back and said, yeah, no executive session. So I'm sitting in the meeting, and there we are. And it was, in essence, it was executive session. The members were thrown out of the meeting, which should have been a public meeting. So I don't know how much to say.
So that was raised, and just before we go on a huge tangent on that, is that it's still their contention, meaning legal counsel's was like, well, it's still open, meaning that it was still available. Yet no, you wouldn't have been able to potentially been able to speak. But I mean, it was on. I'm not saying I agree with this. Just before anyone jumps in here, but that legal counsel was saying is like it technically was not executive session. It was clearly open. It was live on WinCam. So it was definitely an open meeting.
Right. I mean,
I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm just saying that they're like, they said there's no doubt it's open. It was
but
definitely
let me say
open.
this. If you were a person coming, obviously, again, council is now in the mode, and this is a really important point. Council is now in the mode of defending the meeting.
Yes.
So let's make that clear. Now, I would respond and say, as somebody who didn't like what I saw, that if I had been a candidate, I would have presumed that I'm supposed to leave the meeting, like this is supposed to be quiet. And frankly, it wouldn't have occurred to me to then go turn on whatever, a TV or start streaming WinCam, especially because I'm already waiting and wondering if I'm going to be called back into the meeting. So I just don't even buy that. But that's
I'm just saying what they're saying.
To file away, because this could be a matter
Well-
back and forth.
Well, when the candidates were sitting in a waiting room, when the chair, right, they were in a waiting room waiting to get into the meeting, when the chair announced that it was an open meeting and being broadcasted, they weren't allowed in the room to hear him say that, right? They weren't allowed in the meeting. They're held in a waiting room. So there's no way they would have known that it was being broadcast or anything, because they were sitting in a waiting room waiting to get into the meeting. So
Yeah,
it's,
well, that's a real,
No,
that's, you're speaking like a person and you're not it's that's the problem, Heather, is that.
No.
No, but if that actually were elevated and going into the Attorney General's office for review, there's a certain absurdity to pushing people back into the waiting room so they can't be part of your meeting.
I think that in our response, we can simply state that we agree with the gist of the argument, or the argument for the violation. Whether or not it's technically an open meeting law violation, that's not up to us to decide, but we certainly feel that the person's complaint is a valid complaint in terms of their ability to participate. And
also,
I don't think
you're making it more, you'll have a chance to write. So you'll get this later when it's quiet. But realistically, if somebody's been pushed back into the waiting room, they're kind of tied to their laptop or whatever they're using to just stay in the meeting. As I said, it wasn't even clear if they would be coming back. So like to congratulate and announce who was the winner or something, I wasn't sure where this meeting was going. So there was a lot of, I think, funny stuff going on.
okay. So I know Heather Hannon needs to go really desperately to work, as do I, and as all of us work. So Heather, there is a motion. Deb, do you want to take it? I'm not going and.
Well, you can call for the motion to be made. I can't see it because it's being obscured. Thank you.
We're gonna have this. So there's a motion. Can everyone see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to define how we're responding, or just delegate the vice chair to respond? I think we discussed it, that I support the vice chair. However, he may choose to proceed. He has a general idea of how the full board, and I feel he can represent that appropriately in his thing. So I don't know if we have to define how he responds.
Yeah.
Agree.
That's fine.
Okay. Did someone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion is for the vice chair to respond for the board to the open meeting law complaint filed by Sally Dale on October 8th, 2020. Motion was by Hannon with, it's Meister, right?
Hannon,
No, it was Hannon.
seconded Meister.
Motion was made by Hannon, seconded by Meister. All those in favor, alphabetic order, please.
Hannon, aye.
Jarius, aye.
Meister, aye.
Von Mering, aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Wait. Is Cheryl still on board with this?
She had to leave at 9:35.
Okay, sorry.
So she was on till 9:35. Yep.
Okay.
And then with that, the other question before we adjourn is, Brian, do we have any money in our professional fees in case you want independent legal to review this, Diab?
I don't. The short answer is probably not.
I don't know that we need.
We don't need legal fund for them to review it. I don't know what.
Okay.
No. You just wanted
to be honest.
Yeah.
If we wanted legal, I think the town can review it in terms, I mean, the key thing is, are we protecting the town by saying this? Are we putting the town in danger by saying this? Whatever I put in the memo. And I would trust that Krieger et al. Would be sufficient for that,
Yes.
because
Well,
they are.
see what comes back, because I'm not sure.
Heather and Diab and I will do this.
No, I need to be removed from it.
Oh,
No,
so
Brian and I will do
Diab and
this.
I will. I think Diab and I understand the concerns,
Yeah,
and we can relay the information.
yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah.
Um,
So I don't. Sorry that we needed to get through that. I didn't have anything else at this very moment.
no, but I would like, Brian, as part of this meeting, please don't respond, but I would like, as part of this meeting, for you to forward Mina's email to me, to the full board.
Mhm.
And everyone,
The one where he said that the board should respond to the open meeting law request.
no, the
Yeah.
one in response to my email to Mary Ellen, so that, they have a better understanding of Mina's position.
Okay.
So
Art is not readily available easily, which is also making it difficult, because I feel like Art has a different style is just more clarity in the process that I was not getting through this. And so I would like Diab, you to have all the communication I've had from Mina and take it away. And
okay, that's
just
cool.
report back to the board.
Yeah. I did prepare a couple of motions for the last meeting. I realize we're getting really short on time. And one of the motions was to declare the vote illegitimate, and the other one was to request the select board and the planning board have another joint meeting.
Oh, I would support both of those.
So Brian, can you pop those up? I sent you email on those. It's kind of long because it provides some context.
Yeah, hold on. I haven't gotten anything from you. Say you just sent it?
No, I sent it for our last meeting because I thought there would be time. So
Gotcha.
check your email from last.
Oh, no, yeah, I have that. I'm saying you want me to put that up?
Yeah, could you do that, please?
Yep. It was Friday, I believe.
No, well, when did we have our last meeting? Was it?
The 13th.
Oh, that was a Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah, so it would have been that Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't.
It's on the third. Yeah.
It
says motions for this. Motions for this evening is the name of the email.
Okay. Oh, got it.
Or you can ask. You can let me.
I got it.
Okay.
All right. Should be up there.
Yep.
Hold on 1 second.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm good. Maureen, can you read that? It's pretty small.
Oh, okay, hang on. Yeah, I'm looking for the top of one. Yeah, there, I didn't get one. Oh, there's more. I'm seeing it cut off at the top.
Yeah, it's a long one.
I mean, this is, yeah, I mean, sorry, I don't.
Yeah.
All right, so the first one's basically is calling for the V to revisit NY. And well, I guess I didn't understand the two. It looks like both motions are still saying that we need to reconvene.
Right. The first one says we need to reconvene. The second one authorizes the chair to ask to tell the select board that we need to reconvene.
Right, and but we've done that, but that
Well, we've done it to the chair. We have not done it to the full
to
select
the
board.
board.
This
Right,
is to
right.
the full select board.
I think this is good.
Okay. I guess you can vote this email in from 10:13.
I think you should change motion 2 to president, planning board, vice chair to inform the select board.
Okay.
I really think in this position, it's best that someone
Understood.
not, right, take the political out of it and just concerns.
Understood. Okay. Oh, you want to cut and paste? The other one is a mess to cut and paste. So if we want to vote on the first
The other
one.
was better because okay, yeah, because you want everything.
You want the whole thing?
Yeah. So motion number 1 is simply to declare how we feel about it. Excuse me. So I'll move number 1. Is there a second?
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Heather Hannon, did you have a chance to read that?
I was just skimming it.
Do you need more time or are you okay?
I think I get the gist of it.
Okay.
Oh, just an edit here. Can you, in particular, the process number 1, use the method of, just not, no, it should be explicit, number 1.
Yeah, I know.
No, Dieb's number 1. I'm sorry.
Where it says, in particular, the process.
Yeah, use the method. Use a method of tile. I would, instead of tile elimination, just put random elimination. Or,
Well,
Or
it was,
why?
hang on. Method of tile elimination that was random.
right. Or that included a, yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
I don't know if
Okay.
you want to add that as well. The 2 select board members told me as well, but I don't know if it means if we care to do it.
I don't think we should speak on the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how you know, but
Anyway,
trust you, obviously. I think we should just stick to the planning board. And
Sure. All right. Well, then these are
just that we're
so
there.
so you can just do both.
So I move number 1.
second.
Oops.
All in-
Hannon, I.
Excuse me.
Meister, aye.
Jarius, I'm sorry, I have something in my throat. Excuse me.
All right, motion passed. 401 with Wolf absent. Motion number 2.
Yeah, that's good.
Does someone want to make the motion?
I move this, whatever, number 5, motion 2.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Hannon, I.
Jarius, aye.
Meister, aye.
Von Mering, aye. Motion passes 401 with Wolf absent. Thank you, Dia, for taking leadership on as we go forward. And Brian will forward the emails from council for everyone. Please don't respond to it in any form of emails. As everyone knows, as a board, we don't communicate or discuss things outside of our meetings, which is why we actually had to call this meeting. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Heather, thank you for squeezing this in your workday, and everyone else as well.
And thanks to you, Heather.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm going to be thanking Dieb from here on forward. So.
Well, I move, we move.
Yes.
I mean,
Do we have an motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a first by Hannon, a second by Diab. Meeting is
Yep.
adjourned at 12:21 a.m. Thank you, and I will see you and talk to you guys in November.
10:20 a.m.
10:20, please.
All right.
10:20 a.m.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Have a good week, everyone.